enemy remaining.
Drop.
What's going on YouTube? It's Sky here, and I'm here to review the Gamesense Lidar. So as a fair warning before the video starts, Gamesense did send this out to me. However, that will never impact my thoughts or opinions. First things first, the price of the pad comes in at $32 on the Gamesense website. It's currently on sale, as it usually goes for $40. So I think if you want to pick up this pad after the review, I think now is the time. I'm not sure how long the sale is going to last, but I definitely recommend it. So the Gamesense Lidar comes in at 500 by 500 with a 3mm thickness. It is marketed as a speed pad and claims to be humidity resistant, has an anti-slip rubber base, one colorway, and flat packaging. I can attest to the humidity resistant as well as the anti-slip rubber base. It has not moved on my desk whatsoever, even with a couple hours of playing across a wide variety of games where I have to move my mouse a lot. The pad doesn't move whatsoever. One thing that I will sort of say is with the flat packaging, I sort of feel like this is useless as this is a rubber base. So I sort of feel like, you know, flat packaging is a little bit overkill here, but I do appreciate it because I hate when pads come rolled up and I have to sort of flatten them out a little bit. So I think this is pretty cool. So jumping into the stitching of the pad, the edges are double stitched and are at level, maybe slightly above. I sort of notice it sometimes on my forearm because that's usually where my arm sits, but this isn't a make or break thing for me. I sort of think it's preference. It's barely noticeable. I don't think it should be something that matters that much to you when it comes to this pad. So for the texture of the Lidar, it is super smooth, non-coated, and actually has great tight stitching on the pad. It's got amazing glide similar to the Infinite Speed. However, I think that the Lidar has a little bit more control than the Infinite Speed. I'll talk about this later in the video, but it sort of feels like with this pad, it's a little bit slower. Not muddy, but just definitely a little bit slower than the Infinite Speed. And I prefer the type of stitching on this pad where it's super smooth and it doesn't feel weird on my hand compared to like the original Spire Loke, which I think is way too abrasive and disregarding the non-stitched edges, which again I also hate, but I just think that pad was a little bit too abrasive and too textured on my hands. However, this pad is perfectly smooth and you can run your hands across it perfectly. You don't notice anything when gaming. It just feels like a very solid quality mouse pad. So the most important thing about the Lidar is its speed. I think that this is Gamesense's equivalent to a Raiden Mid. It's super firm, definitely not as firm as the Free Fall Control Plus, as that is just a hard cloth pad, but this one definitely sort of feels like a mid. There's a little bit of give, so you can press down into your mouse to help you control it, but there isn't that much. Overall, pretty firm. It is a really fast mouse with a good amount of initial resistance. It's definitely noticeable when playing, and it helps you maintain a little bit more control, along with having a little bit more stopping power at the end. So if you are doing a big flick, you won't really overflick as much if you were to use some sort of other speed pad or some sort of glass pad. I think you still have a lot of stopping power to fall back on. So this feels faster than the Loke, but definitely slower than the Infinite Speed. I think that both definitely have similar glides, but I think the Infinite Speed has a little bit less resistance and stopping power, which personally I prefer in pads, but it is all preference at the end of the day. For only $32, I think that the Gamesense Lidar is definitely comparable to the Artisan Raiden, as it just feels amazing to use. Obviously, it's not quite as, I guess, pristine, but again, it is only a fraction of the price, and for what you're buying, it's super, super solid. I enjoy the pad and could 100% see myself using this as my main cloth speed pad. In my time using the LiDAR, I've noticed that it seems to be very similar to the radar and the sonar, as I feel like Gamesense tends to have an overarching theme or similarity of having more controlled products compared to other pads on the market. This isn't a bad thing in my eyes, but it's just something to be aware of when buying this pad. I feel like that this pad is more of a faster hybrid pad over just a straight speed pad. I think if you're looking for a straight speed pad with a lot less stopping power and a lot less control, I think that the Infinite Speed is the mouse pad for you. But I think if you want something a little bit closer to the Raiden, without having to spend $80 or whatever it is for an Artisan pad, I think that the LiDAR is the pad for you. In my time using the LiDAR, I noticed that it was very similar to Gamesense's other products, such as the radar and the sonar, as those are control pads, and the LiDAR seemed to have a lot more control than I was expecting. Initially, I thought that it was going to be a lot more raw and it would be harder to control, but I was pleasantly surprised when I was able to, have more stopping power in the pad. So one of the downsides about the Gamesense Lidar is that I feel like it's just sort of marketed wrong. I think that this is definitely a little bit more of a faster hybrid pad over a straight speed pad. I was expecting a product much faster, and it's not to say that having more stopping power and control is a bad thing, but I think that if you are looking for a faster, more raw pad, the LiDAR isn't for you. I think you should be looking at a product like the Infinite Speed if you want something that has absolutely zero control behind it. I also think that at the end of the day, there isn't really anything innovative about the LiDAR, and it just sort of feels like another good, solid speed mousepad. I feel like the standard of quality in the mousepad industry is already so high that cheaper pads like the LiDAR can still compete with, bigger, more quality brands such as Artisan without giving up too much in build quality. Of course, when you do spend that extra money, you are buying, that extra quality. You are buying that premium materials. But I think for $32, what you get in this pad is perfect and isn't something to complain about. So coming to the end of the video, I think if you're looking for a cloth speed pad and don't really want to put in all the money for more expensive Artisan pad and want a little bit more control in a speed pad, I definitely think that the LiDAR is the mouse pad for you. While competing with bigger brands, it's just another one of those mouse pads that is the best bang for your buck. I think that for a mouse pad that had a lot of talk when initially announced on Twitter and absolutely zero reviews on it, I'm actually really surprised because I think that it's just another quality product from Gamesense. And if you want to try something new without breaking the bank, I think that this is just the best choice on the market right now. Alright, I was actually about to record the outro for the video and then my main camera overheated, but I want to quickly say if you enjoyed the Gamesense Lidar video, please like and subscribe. I'll hopefully be releasing a video on the Gamesense sonar as well as radar, and those should be up in the channel within the coming weeks. I appreciate everyone's support recently. It's meant a lot to me, and I've genuinely been enjoying making reviews. I'll catch you guys in the next one later.